Welcome to the Custodial Support Forum, where we provide issues and solutions related to one of the largest problems in America, child support. Hi, my name is Kai Patterson, and I'm your host. In this episode, we're going to show you how to obtain a child support enforcement order to be able to seize and liquidate the assets of a non-custodial parent.
Are you owed child support?
Does the non-custodial parent of your children avoid your calls, hide their income and assets, or has relocated to prevent paying child support?
The Custodial Support Foundation provides you with the services to begin receiving the child support your children need.
Call 855-851-HELP now to receive the help your children deserve.
In our last segment, we discussed some of the issues related to non-custodial parents that refuse to pay child support. I have with us Ben Kelson, who's our legal analyst, and we're going to discuss solutions for custodial parents to be able to collect child support when the non-custodial parent refuses to pay but can. Welcome, Ben. How you doing?
Thank you very much, Kai. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Ben, in our last segment, we talked about non-custodial parents that manipulate the system, get paid on a 1099, hide their assets, own their own companies, and put themselves in positions where the Office of Child Support Enforcement can't garnish their salary. Now, we do know that the Office of Child Support Enforcement, they have enforcement mechanisms to do things like suspend your driver's licenses, garnish your wages. They can basically withhold your tax returns should you choose not to pay child support. But what happens when a custodial parent still cannot collect because the non-custodial parent refuses to? This is what we're going to discuss now. What are some of the solutions available to custodial parents?
It's a very, very good question. As Alexander Stremler pointed out in the earlier segment, the first thing you need to do is, once you have an order that exists for the purposes of setting what the child support is supposed to be.
That's the original child
support order.
Okay.
The next step after that is going to be filing for a motion to enforce litigants' rights.
Okay, cool.
You're essentially filing a motion with the court, and you're going to the court and you're saying to the court, I have an order already that sets child support, but the non-custodial parent is not paying. And so I need an order from the court giving me the ability to be able to go and get those funds from the non-custodial parent.
And those funds can be assets that can be seized and liquidated.
Correct. It can be liquid or non-liquid assets. In other words, it can be cash in accounts.
Correct.
Or it could be things such as cars or other types of personal assets that a person might own.
Such as bank accounts, companies, stocks and bonds, vehicles, jewelry, personal possessions that are worth money that can be auctioned.
That is correct, right.
See, most custodial parents are not aware that you can do this.
It's one of the problems. Unfortunately, it's a situation where people do not have enough information to be able to protect their children, really, because that's what, again, with the theme that we've been reiterating time and time again, is that child support is actually for the children. And so the custodial parents do not always have the tools to know what is the next step that they need to do to be able to get those funds to take care of their children.
Okay. What is needed to enable a custodial parent to obtain an enforcement order and a levy?
Okay. So first of all, there are really two separate things.
Okay,
the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to be trying to get an order for an enforcement of the child support order that was granted by the court originally.
And the levy allows you to be able to seize and liquidate the assets.
Exactly.
Correct.
The levy is a legal term, which means to be able to put a lien on or to be able to take the assets that the court has been able, that you've been able to find and tell the court about.
Okay.
So you're really talking about two steps. The first step you're talking about is filing a motion where the court says, you know what, the non-custodial parent is not doing this voluntarily.
Okay.
We're going to have to do something to be able to enforce that order, to force them to actually take the steps and actually pay.
Okay.
The next step is going to be an order for the execution of that enforcement order,
Okay.
which is going to allow the court, or allow the custodial parent, the legal remedy of being able to seek and to seize those assets which the non-custodial parent has to be able to pay those arrearages that they owe in child support.
Okay, gotcha. And you know what? The funny thing is that most parents are not aware that they can do this. Okay, so now, when you, okay, so now what's needed? You got to know, what do you have to know in order to get that order, that enforcement order?
Well, the first thing that we need to do is, and it's a topic that we've been saying over and over again, you need to be able to get the address of where the non-custodial parent is.
Correct.
Because in order to be able to do anything within the legal system, you have to be able to serve them. You have to be able to do what's called service of process.
Correct.
You have to be able to have somebody go over, and like you see in the movie on TVs, have somebody stand there and go, hi, you've been served, and hand them over the motion.
Okay.
The second thing that you have to be able to do, or you have to be prepared to do, is to have the documentation in the order, in the motion, I'm sorry, in the proposed form of order. And proposed form of order basically is where you lay out a template of the order for the judge to be able to look at and be able to fill in certain specifics and then sign and enter that order. So you may want to include in that a request to have an arrest warrant issued, and that can be included in the motion.
What about the income and assets of the non-custodial?
Absolutely. Anything that you know
Okay.
that you can provide to the court
Okay.
will give the court, as well as whoever it is that's going to be collecting those assets,
Okay.
whether it be the local sheriff's office or the court officers or a collections company,
Okay.
to give them the information that they need to be able to follow up on that enforcement order and that execution order, to be able to get a hold of those assets.
Okay, you talked about a warrant. You can request a warrant in the motion if a warrant hasn't been issued, correct?
You can always request the warrant. It doesn't necessarily mean that the judge is going to give it to you. And there are some times that the judge is going to say that I'm not interested in doing that. And you'll very often see motions that we've done. I've had this all the time. You prepare a motion, you put in the kitchen sink, you put in all these different terms. The judge crosses out every single item that you have in there other than one. But you want to put it in there in order that the judge can actually have it there in front of them, almost as an option of what to do.
Because if you don't ask?
If you don't ask, they may not do. That's not to say that they won't do it.
Okay.
But it definitely means that they may not do it.
Okay. Let's talk about, you now get this court order. What's the next step to be able to seize and liquidate a non-custodial parent's assets?
Okay.
Which is collections.
Correct, right.
Okay.
So the first thing you want to be able to do is include in your motion
Okay.
a clause that is going to ask for any fees that are there, whether they be attorney's fees or collection fees, to be included in the order, in the motion.
That's important, so that the child support arrears, if you go to a collection agency, if they don't have a fee set aside for them, the only option they have is to take what? A portion of your child support arrears. And that's important because most custodial parents go to collection agencies that take anywhere between, I've seen 25 to 40% of the arrears have gone on the internet.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. So I mean, it's a very big problem. One of the things that you want to do, therefore, is include in that the potential for the court to award attorney's fees as well as any fees associated with the collection.
Okay.
And this has two purposes. One of them is going to be that it allows for your attorney to be able to get paid, as well as for the collection agency or whatever the entity is that's doing the collections, to have their fee attached to it.
Okay.
Which means that the two things. One, it means that the actual arrearages are not touched, and therefore they remain intact for the custodial parent to be able to use for care of the child.
Okay.
The second is that very often it's that penalty which may prompt a non-custodial parent to come forward and start cooperating.
That's right.
Because if they know that they already have arrears and they're going to get hit with further things, not only are they going to get hit with
or get their assets seized and liquidated.
Exactly. And they're going to have somebody who starts coming and towing away their car or their boat or whatever else it may be, right? Then suddenly they may find themselves in a position where they're a little bit more cooperative and a little bit more interested in going along and making sure that their payments are done in a timely fashion.
Okay, great. To help custodial parents locate organizations that are available to provide all the services cost effectively. Parents can go, we have a website for this show, custodialsupport.org. You can go online and you can actually find organizations that will help custodial parents receive these assets, or you can call the Custodial Support Helpline at 855-851-HELP, and there'll be a representative. It's a 24-hour number, and there'll be representatives there that can help you get information on receiving an enforcement order. Well, that basically wraps up the amount of time that we have. This has been very helpful, Ben, and stay tuned for our next episode.
Are you owed child support?
Does the non-custodial parent of your children avoid your calls, hide their income and assets, or has relocated to prevent paying child support?
The Custodial Support Foundation provides you with the services to begin receiving the child support your children need.
Call 855-851-HELP now to receive the help your children deserve.